Bickley and Marana Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
It's Groundhog Day in Phoenix, where the Suns are once again one of the NBA's most disappointing teams at the midway point of the season. Just imagine the letdown if they don't land Jimmy Butler, and even worse, imagine the collateral damage of trying and failing to add a combustible, volatile alpha leader who would bring the intensity and swag and toughness this team so sorely needs, and then trying to convince the current group that, hey, you're good enough to win a title. Imagine how Bradley Beal might feel if he's still in Phoenix on February 7th, or if KD's unhappiness begins to grow post-trade deadline, or how that locker room might feel moving forward. Because we are almost out of life preservers in Arizona, folks, where our first crack at a big three has resulted in a revolving door of coaches, bench players, and absolutely zero change in cohesion and passion and all of those little things that make a town fall in love with its basketball team. The Suns have lost that, by the way. They are in danger of becoming one of the most unlikable, disappointing teams we've seen in a while, which means, for better or worse, they better end up with a player conducting one of the most unprofessional dramas I have ever seen, and they better hope the juice is worth the squeeze. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
The Suns and other teams have engaged Miami in the last several days on conversations around Jimmy Butler. The Heat have been asking for players either on short-term contracts or players that resemble stars that could come in, draft capital as well. They have not been able to find that yet. Those conversations remain ongoing. But what the Suns did the other day is they acquired 3 future first-round picks for their 2031 first-round pick. And that allowed them, if they want to get Jimmy Butler, this is going to be a 3, 4, 5-team trade. And getting 3 first-round picks allows them to go out in the marketplace and facilitate those larger deals.
Shams Charania from ESPN. We'll get to what he said, but players that resemble stars? What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
Like lookalikes.
like that Steph Curry lookalike from the Philippines?
The Klay Thompson guy.
Running around the airport?
Yeah.
So to update, that's a very good catch. And also, props to you. I stole your juice is worth the squeeze line for the end of the blast because it's very, very apropos in this situation. So if you're just waking up or you're just tuning in, the latest, Mark Spears yesterday reported that Jimmy Butler is now open to anywhere but Memphis. Now, we don't know if that's true because there was a point in time when the reporting went there. A couple weeks ago, it was, okay, it's open to everybody. And then came the Brian Windhorst report. Nope, Jimmy Butler is back to insisting on Phoenix. Phoenix or bust. So this is the second report now that seems to have opened the marketplace for the Miami Heat. I don't know whether that reporting is true, but if it is true, it would mean that Jimmy Butler, it's really just about the money for him and getting out of Miami. And the Suns' chances of landing him, have gotten a bit colder. I don't know if I believe that, but it is out there as a report. As for Jimmy Butler and his desire to get so much money when he's making so much money already, hey, that coffee empire is not going to fund itself, Vinny.
No.
Stephen A. Smith.
Big Phase Coffee.
Yeah. Stephen A. Smith ripped into him last night, basically saying, you say you want your bag. How are you going to get your bag if this is how you are walking out the door? There does seem to be a tipping point that Jimmy Butler is getting close to, and that is if he can't get to Phoenix, and if the Miami Heat call his bluff, who would sign him as a free agent, given what he has just done? There are people who are on the outside who are cheering Pat Riley for finally being a guy standing up to an NBA player in the era of empowerment. Mm-hmm. There were reports that Jimmy Butler's missed flight to Milwaukee happened because he just didn't have the courtesy to even communicate with the Heat, and the Heat were sitting on the tarmac for hours waiting for him. So that's how intense it's gotten in South Beach.
So here's the interesting thing. Let's suppose they don't trade him. That they say, play it out and you're just going to leave the end of this season. That's not going to stop the Suns from trying to get out from Bradley Beal, right? Like they will still try to make some sort of deal to get out from that contract, I would think, right? Or do you think it's Jimmy Butler or bust?
I mean,
or else they stay the course.
I don't know what their thinking is. I'm not privy to any inside information, but that has not even been suggested.
No.
To get off Bradley. If it's getting off Bradley Beal, it's in pursuit of Jimmy Butler is all we've ever heard.
Right, because going by the Matt Ishbia, we are here to win right now, you would be making your team less by just ditching a contract. He's not looking to ditch contracts.
This season.
Okay.
By ditching that contract, you then become a team that could sign Jimmy Butler.
Mm-hmm.
Would Jimmy Butler be petulant enough that if a trade is not worked out, that he would pick up his option and just sit next year? $48 million.
$50 million, right?
52.
Yeah, $52
million.
Yeah. What a mess.
Oh, it really, really is. It's a great way to describe what it is. So Jimmy Butler is going to wear this, and I don't think the Suns are going to be clean of this if he does come here. But just to quote you again, you just better hope that if it happens, the juice is worth the squeeze.
Well, and asking that to Brendan Tobin from WQAM, who's been all over this story for years now, I was kind of surprised that he said, yeah, it is kind of worth the squeeze for the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other people that believe this too. Chiney Ogumike from NBA Today on ESPN.
If we are in this situation, I'm right there with Perk. First of all, what we've learned with Jimmy Butler is he wants to be where he wants to be. Going elsewhere, you'd feel like it's a question mark. We sort of had the idea about Memphis or some other teams, Dallas or Golden State, and you wonder the buy-in factor, right? Because clearly that checked out in Miami, literally like he was checked out. Now in Phoenix, he clearly wants to be there. How do you make that happen? It's going to be complicated. But I think Perk's right. One thing I love about Kevin Durant, you know what you're going to get from him, 27 to 30 points per game. I think we have to put Devin Booker in that category. A lot of people have said maybe he can be that dog. He's a two-way player. He's increased his ball handling ability. I think from what we have assessed, this team currently at 10th, they need more. They need someone that can provide a little bit more, and Phoenix knows it.
Yeah, they know it, but
But why didn't they know it before? Why didn't they know that going into the year? That we need to get some toughness and we need to get an alpha presence here. But everything is being learned too late here.
Also had 11 games of proof that what they had was enough. They won 9 of their first 11 games.
That is a good point. That's a good point.
And
I think that killed them for that. Like, that was the worst thing that could happen because a lot throughout the season, they're like, well, just look at that way we started.
Yeah.
All we need to do is just.
Don't you remember early on when you two guys were tripping? I'm like, don't worry about it. Didn't you see what they were like in their first 11 games? They'll be fine. Just get them healthy. They'll be fine.
Right.
But you also have to wonder, too, with all of these conversations and this pursuit both ways, Butler wants to get to Phoenix. Phoenix wants to get Butler. If yesterday the report from Mark J. Spears is accurate that Jimmy Butler and his people have opened it up to the Heat to say anywhere but Memphis, if that's just a throwing up of the hands, look, we gave it a shot, wanted to get to Phoenix, there's just too many hurdles in place, but I got to get out of here. That's what the next development is going to be.
That is.
And that's how I feel.
Right, but there's also the caveat with the Mark Spears report, as long as he can finish his career wherever he gets traded to. Meaning, wherever you trade me, I'm open it to be anywhere. I'm open for it to be somewhere other than Phoenix, but they got to give me my money.
Yeah.
And so who out there is willing to do both?
Good question.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not. That list might whittle down significantly at that point in time.
Very well could.
So listen, I'm just at this point in time, I want it to happen because you've already taken that one asset that I thought was very valuable. You took that dollar and divided it up into a couple of quarters and a couple of nickels, and trading out Yusuf Nurkic for Bogdanovich. What's that going to do for you? In terms of making this team a championship team, I don't know. So I'm just going to hope that it happens, and I'm going to hope that plugging in a real alpha is exactly what this team needs, because every other magic bullet they've tried hasn't hit the mark.
Yep.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.